after another dreadful week. Rishi Sunak has come out fighting and declared war on what he's called the UK's sick note culture. The country's welfare state bill costs the average taxpayer now £2,000 every single year for every British taxpayer. And I'm joined in our studio in Westminster by our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, to discuss the state of the nation. Astonishing numbers, Catherine, simply mind-bending. 69 billion quid every year now goes on benefits. I paid my tax bill last month. Where did your tax go? I clicked on it. Long-term sickness and benefits is now second only to the NHS on what we spend our tax pound on. This is simply unsustainable.
That's exactly what the Prime Minister said. 69 billion a year on long-term sick and disability benefits, projected to rise to 90 billion by the end of the next Parliament if nothing has done. As he said, it is totally, totally unsustainable. So this speech that he's made today, this is basically a problem that's been building for a long time. The government, for a long time, also, I think, put it in the too hard basket, but they finally decided to grasp this nettle, and the message from Rishi Sunak really is tough love. You're going to take your medicine, it's going to be good for you, you may not like it. Let's have a look at what he had to say earlier.
The role of the welfare state should never be merely to provide financial support, as important as that will always be, but to help people overcome whatever barriers they might face to living an independent, fulfilling life. Everyone with the potential should be supported, and not just to earn, but to contribute and belong. And we must never tolerate barriers that hold people back from making their contribution and from sharing in that sense of self-worth that comes from feeling part of being something bigger than ourselves. And that is why this is a moral mission, and why the value of work is so central to my vision for welfare reform.
Well, there's Rishi Sunak saying, get on your bike. Catherine, there's a bitter irony in this. Sick pay was introduced by Maggie Thatcher in 1982 to get the dole numbers down, to massage the unemployment. In so doing, has she created a monster? A record 2.8 million people now on long-term sick. 850,000 sick notes increase since the pandemic. Is the pandemic partly to blame? Did it get more and more people used to getting paid for doing nothing?
Well, certainly, Rishi Sunak said in the speech, in the period since the pandemic, something has gone wrong. Of course, millions of people had their wages paid by furlough. Now, that was an entirely artificial situation in an exceptional circumstance, but quite a lot of people left the workplace and simply haven't come back. And then there's all the associated problems as a result of lockdown. It was a very artificial situation. Some people got out of the way of working, but also some people have found adjusting to normal life again very difficult. We've seen this huge uptick in mental health issues, anxiety, depression. Over half of people now being put on sick leave have mental health issues. Often they go along with another condition too. So Rishi Sunak has said, that there's a risk of over-medicalising the everyday challenges and worries of life. So the message is they want to basically crack down on GPs just doling out fit notes, as they call them, because they given 11 million last year. 94% of those said that the person was unfit to do any work. The government wants health professionals to work with people from the benefit system and support people and try to get them back into work, whether that means working from home or making adjustments, but meaning that they can contribute in a meaningful way rather than having them languishing on benefits. And they're going to get much tougher with people if they view that they're able to work and turn down work. They may then lose benefits. So they are certainly cracking down. Now, you can see why they're doing it, because the costs are astronomical. But, of course, it's not going down well with everybody. I mean, the mental health charity Mind, that does, I would say, very good work, they have said this is deeply damaging. Their concern is that there are, of course, people with genuine mental health crises. There's been a huge surge in suicide rates, but there is a difference, isn't there, between something like that, which is critical and people really need support, and people just feeling a bit anxious.
Does any of this matter? Is this rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic? I mean, look, by every metric going, by every opinion poll worth, waving a stick at, the Conservatives are on their way out of power. Does any of this matter?
Well, you're probably right in that most of this would come in potentially down the line. And if, as we currently expect, Labour get in, some or any of this may go in the bin. I mean, the smoking ban, similar, but I don't think that will happen because Labour are fully supportive of that. Ditto Rishi Sunak's plan to replace A-levels. That was a 10-year project, but it doesn't seem like the Conservatives are going to get 5 years, let alone 10 years in power. So you do wonder, but I think it's worth saying that Labour too do acknowledge that the benefits bill has got out of control and something has to be done. So it will be interesting to hear what they propose, given that they are the ones potentially that might have to deal with this.
Catherine, a neat segue into our next guest now, because I can speak with former Labour spokesman James Matthewson. James, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. So there we have it. We've got £69 billion a year on benefits, an unsustainable number by anybody's metric. One thing that might concern you is the proposed way of dealing with stripping powers away from GPs, who are the first point of contact, and you think might be the best place to actually appraise people's state of health, and instead putting this into the private sector, into the workforce. Is this partially a privatisation of the NHS?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's clear, and I think that that will not bother Rishi Sunak in the slightest. I can believe, because I've seen what this government has done consistently. I mean, when I say government, I mean the past 14 years of Tory government, because it's all the same people, let's be honest. It's all the same guys behind the scenes pulling the strings. And what we're seeing here is more attacks, more punching down on people who have very, very little in life, very little going for them, who are facing genuine hardships from a man who is a multi-millionaire. And he's sitting there telling people that, the everyday hardships of life are just something you need to get used to. The everyday challenges, the normal day-to-day, as he's called it. What on earth does this man know about the normal day-to-day struggles of single parents who are trying to feed their kids, of people who are forced by this system to work multiple jobs to try and pay their bills and to try and make their life bearable to live? And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about whether you can actually survive and feed yourself and have enough food in your belly to stay alive. We're talking about a reason to stay alive as well. So,
but James, if we take the personality out of this and just make this about the numbers, a future Labour government would have to deal with this problem as well. The numbers are simply unsustainable. £69 billion a year on benefits. It was £42 billion the year before, a staggering increase, second only now to NHS spending. And we simply can't spend money on the things the Labour Party would like to spend on, no doubt, education, defence. We can't spend that money if we have such a cripplingly high benefits bill. So something needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think the answer to that is Labour's New Deal for work. It's this idea that you make work a place that people can be. It's not about where people want to be. This is the thing that Tories forget time and time again. They think they want to make work appealing to people as if it's a choice, okay? If you are suffering from severe mental health issues, it's not about whether you want to get up and work or whether you want to go to work. So many people do want to go to work. They want to have the routine. They want to have the income that comes with work. But workplaces just don't work for them. So many workplaces, we've seen workers' rights stripped away over the last 14 years. The Trade Union Act did that in a kind of fell swoop. We had so many workers' rights taken away and their ability to represent themselves in their workplaces. So under Labour's plans, as far as I can see from them, and I hope to stick to them, that's going to be the crucial difference here, is to not get scared and not get panicked by the response to Rishi Sunak's words today and say, actually, we have a different vision. We want to make work a place that works for workers so that people can come in challenging circumstances and have flexible time to work, part-time contracts that work for them, protections and rights, mental health first aiders in workplaces, things like that will make a real difference to people's lives.
OK, well, don't forget, it was Labour isn't working back in the 70s. Round and round we go. We've come full cycle. James Mathieson, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure. And also thank you to you, Catherine Forster, for your expert analysis as ever.